the same as Rosemary, I don't quite understand how it can help. But I've never actually experienced it before anyway, so I suppose a sort of a closed opinion on it, I suppose. If you haven't experienced it, you don't know what it's like.
No.
Right. So you're maintaining
Oh yeah, so I mean, I think
a healthy scepticism.
If there is a reason why Rosemary is doing this, and you find it out, the only reserve I've got is that by bringing it out, it actually changes her totally into something totally different, a lot worse or whatever. And that's the only sort of concern I've got.
That'll be a worry for you.
Rose's mother.
They are not alone. Rosemary and James know that behind a one-way mirror, watching every move and listening to every remark, are 5 other people. The idea is that 6 minds are better than 1.
They experience it, so they experience the one-off.
Would you ever wake him up just because you wanted some reassurance? Or,
It's usually if they're bad, I wake up. But you don't.
I don't normally, I just get back in bed.
Apart from understanding the role that the problem plays in their lives, Gwyn Daniel is gently encouraging Rosemary and James to realize that the way they see each other and the way they behave towards each other may be heavily dependent on the sleepwalking problem.
It's waking him up from a certain point of his sleep. You can't always control his emotions, like if he got cross or...
so I just get the impression then that you worry quite a lot about how you what you share with James at that time, and maybe you worry about what effect it has on him.
I used to get very upset about his reaction.
If they can be coaxed out of their set ways of seeing each other, and if Rosemary ceased to be thought of as the fragile invalid of the family, then they might both have the courage to let the problem go.
Because his sleep was disturbed as well, his emotions were slightly, didn't know really what was happening to him.
But the implications for their relationship would be enormous, and James would have to accept a totally different Rosemary.
Yeah, she seems to be worried about how I will react to things. I don't know why.
I think we should get her out now.
That we have to have a light on.
That's my colleague, just asking if I'll come for a brief consultation. Okay? What I'm going to do is draw these curtains over here.
You were wondering whether if you went in on a question like, if it stopped, what would be the effect on their relationship? So if it stopped, what would be the opening for them, and what would be the constraining effect on it, and who would it be most frightening for, and so on?
Well, that's right. If their relationship were to change very much, would he actually be able to handle a shift in the balance of power? And if he couldn't, would that lead to the relationship splitting up? Suppose the sleep disturbance becomes less part of your life. What sort of changes might there be in the relationship between you? We can see that, for you, there could be a bit of a bind about how much you want things to change and how much you don't.
He's depending on me, depending on him, that sort of
yes,
thing.
exactly, that kind of thing. Do you think James would find it difficult to get used to the new Rosemary that would emerge even more, perhaps, if you don't have these, if you get stronger?
I would probably start to worry, I think.
What was my game?
I feel that if a more dominant person, you get the impression that they don't care so much about somebody. The more dominant they are, the less caring they are about.
But I mean, I think I have learned how, over the years, to stand up for myself a lot more anyway. But,
have you?
Yeah, I think so. But still quite sensitive. I don't know.
Is it helping?
Yeah, well, it's early because it's only 3 times, but I think it's quite good.
4 months later, they all come together at Moya's house to discuss their different experiences.
They're direct, but they're not, if you know what I mean. It's quite a long-winded, winding way of asking you something, and then you have to sit and think hard about what she's trying to say. Often I have to ask you about 3 times what she means.
But they have, there's a glass mirror, and there's 5 people behind that who are all making notes.
Colleagues.
It's very strange. But they never tell you anything. You sit there wondering, well, why are they asking that question?
Oh, no, she did
Each of them
say,
has suffered for over 20 years, and they are finding it hard to accept that any of the available therapies are really going to stop their night terrors.
So I'll have to see. But I've been just doing it just as bad as ever. Yeah. I've had some crazy nights.
Rosemary wants to believe in her therapy. She'd like to change, as long as James can take it.
So I'm hoping that this therapy will make me very assertive.
Watch out.
Because they've been asking if Rosemary changed, how would that affect your life? She suddenly became a very assertive sort of person and started ruling. I think, you can't change that much overnight.
It's more threatening for James, and neither of them wants to push things too far.
Yes.
Moya is putting a brave face on more disappointing results.
So you're taking tablets? aren't you?
But
Me?
No, you're...
I am.
Well, maybe I should be, that's what it is.
But yes, I've started on this course of beta blockers, which are, all they do is slow down the heart as I go to sleep.
Do they work? Have they been working?
Well, they're working. I had 6 weeks without an attack, which is very, very unusual. But then I had 3 attacks within 1 week.
After a year of alarm clocks and drugs, Moya's doctor has finally referred her for psychotherapy.
I'm sure therapy is the way I'd like to progress, because it's the way of actually sorting it out and getting it out and getting rid of any form of medication.
But psychotherapy is not for everyone. After only 2 sessions, Clyde packed it in.
I think if you don't get on, like I haven't sort of gelled with this guy, so obviously I don't feel comfortable talking to him. The thing is, he sits there, right, silent, and he says, well, talk about whatever. To me, that's not the way to do it. You know, you've got to ask the right questions. It embarrasses me more if, you know, if it's silence, then it gets longer and longer, and he just says, well, talk.
There's nothing left for Clyde now. Like thousands of others, he may have night terrors for the rest of his life.
A script of that programme is available by sending a cheque or postal order for £2, which includes postage and packing, and made payable to BBC Television to QED Script, BBC Television, London, W12, 7RJ.
We had a cook once who used to fiddle the kitchen budget. My wife threatened him with the sack.
What did he do?
Some odd things with chickens, coconuts, and our underwear.
Leslie Phillips is Thacker, Easter Monday at 9:40 on 1.
Tony was a truly loathsome man.
You think I was the one who killed Tony because I was jealous?
See you in court, Easter Day at 7:45 on 1.
At 11:35 tonight, the siege begins of a police station in Los Angeles. John Carpenter's thriller Assault on Precinct 13. Now, on 1, here's Des Lynham with Sports Night.
Good evening. The richest prize in sport is the World Heavyweight Championship. This man won it. Now in his 40s, George Foreman wants to win it again. Tonight we see his latest fight against Alex Stewart. This man dreams about it, but twice his dreams turned into nightmares. Now Bruno's heading towards a third world title bid. Or is he? Tonight we meet the man he meets next week. Can Bruno really be principal boy, or is it all just a pantomime? We hear from the man who retained his title last week, Mr. Major's Olympic Reflections. And we're at the ABA semis. Will we see a future Olympian? Spend time with the people's champion of snooker, Jimmy White. Can it be his year to win the world title at last? And European football's richest prize, the Champions Cup. Tonight's action will produce this year's finalists. First, the results at home, and in Division 2, Brighton 1, Derby 2. Marco Gabbiadini's double strike keeping up Derby's challenge for an immediate return to the top flight. Brighton in deeper trouble at the bottom. Leicester 1, Tranmere 0. Kevin Russell's last-minute winner delighting the 18,000-plus crowd at Filbert Street. Middlesbrough 2, Oxford 1. A good recovery by Borough after trailing 1-0 with only 20 minutes to play. 2 goals in 3 minutes by Stuart Ripley and Andy Payton put their promotion chase back on course. Southend 0, Port Vale 0, another point for Port Vale to ease their relegation worries.
Oh, really?
No, I've got a bird phobia, so I'm not too good with the chickens.
With the hens and chickens?
No, cows, great big cows, fine, but little chickens.
But the difficult thing is that you're not just meant to hold them, not like you're doing a nature programme and showing them off to camera and talking about them. You've got to hold them as though you do it every single day of your life and talk about other things while you're doing it.
Yes.
It's got to be a sort of completely understood part of your
Well,
life.
it's supposed to become like second nature, because if you look at farmers, I mean, they'll carry on having a conversation and do the work at the same time,
Yeah.
and that can be difficult because they're a bit unpredictable, the animals.
So who teaches you how to do it?
Well, we do actually have, I mean, we've got somebody who will actually bring the animals in, or occasionally when we've had scenes with the vet will actually show you what to do, how to hold, you know, like a calf or something. And a lot of it you pick up as you go along, or you pick up from the other actors who've been in the programme longer.
Now, that's what's this I hear about your tip, that you shouldn't ever look a sheep in the eyes or something?
Melandra taught me that. If you want the sheep to walk past you, they generally won't. If you look at them, they will stop dead and stare at you. If you avoid eye contact,
I don't think I've ever tried to get into eye contact with a sheep. But
yes, but apparently Melandra taught me that, and it does work, actually.
There are a few other things you've had to learn, not just handling animals, but, for instance, working behind the bar of the wool pack.
Yes, had to learn how to pull a pint.
Yeah.
I was working...
And again, not just pull a pint,
no.
but pull a pint while you're talking and doing other things.
It's actually, working in the wool pack is a bit like waitressing and acting at the same time. I was working in the wool pack when it was run by Mr. Wilson Amos, and they were absolute perfectionists. They taught me a lot. They would actually, we had one of the old-fashioned tills at the time, so if the till was in shot, you had to ring up the proper money. So you had to know the price.